Our swing set served us well. It worked great for my kids when they were younger, but just like anything, those kids have a tendency to grow. And I decided the swing set needed to grow with them if they still wanted to use it. The original hardware was meant for a smaller unit, so everything had to be beefed up in order to increase the size and capacity of the swing set. So lumber-wise, I started with 4x4s, 12-footers for the legs, and a 4x6 12-footer for the top beam there. And then hardware, I found some bigger, heavier-duty stuff for the leg supports and some bearing-driven swing guides for the swings. I mean, the assembly is pretty self-explanatory. Just a couple notes, though. I did stain everything before I put it out with a solid stain, just to make sure I didn't have to do it up in the air. And then installing the hardware, you're going to need a longer drill bit. This was a 3/8 to drive through that top beam in order to install those hardware for the swings. Just a couple measurements to help you. 18 inches apart was what I found was comfortable for the swings. And in terms of their spacing, I made those things 21 inches apart for the actual swings themselves. The nuts, everything got double nutted. I think they were both lock nuts, or maybe one was a regular nut and the other one was a lock nut. Make sure that nothing came apart. And then tapping everything together, putting the hardware on, you have to beat the heck out of it. I always used a block to do it. And that bracket came with a bunch of like 5/16 legs that you leg into the beam to secure everything together. Now, we assembled it on the ground, and then it took 4 of us to tip this thing into place. I didn't film it, but here's my dramatic reenactment of how we set it down. Now, I didn't know that it was going to be as tall as it was. I should have anticipated it, but we all agreed that it was way too tall. So I decided that it was time to jack up the legs and take about 6 inches off. So the legs went from being 12 feet kicked out to about 11'6", and that brought it down to a more reasonable height. It did have some shake in it, so I tied it into the tower on this side, and then up top I put some angled supports to kind of stabilize those legs. Again, 12 feet, you get a little bit of a shake when you have a couple kids swinging on it. But overall, it worked out really well, and it functions great. Even I could swing on it. The last note I wanted to make is that I did put feet underneath my 4x4s. Made sure I stained those to make sure that they wouldn't rot out. That's my swing set. Thanks for watching.